the BoomStick Reaper RDA. Let's have a look. Hey guys, Vick here, back with another review. Today we are looking at this, the BoomStick Reaper, an 18mm bottom feeding and normal dripping RDA, designed and manufactured by BoomStick Reaper, the BoomStick Engineering guys, Deep In Maker and heavensgifts. It's a collaboration designed by those guys and manufactured in collaboration with heavensgifts, and it was heavensgifts that sent this on to me. 18mm wide, dual or single coil, available in brushed stainless, polished stainless and bronze, like a bronzy colour. It comes with an Ultim drip tip and an Ultim beauty ring for the bottom as well, should you wish. I've put my own drip tip on it, and I am not using the beauty ring right now. So here we go. So I have this. There's 3 coiling configurations available for this. You can have it single coil on one side, you can have it diagonal single coil, or you can have it dual coil, and I'll show you those down low. But I've got it in a diagonal single coil option right now on my Chris Scott Mods clicker, and it's vaping a little bit like this. So, very small RDA, mouth to lung possible and restricted direct to lung. I've got it in direct to lung mode right now, but I'll show you mouth to lung when we come back up top. And as I say, it's available from heavensgifts for about $40. So, let's go down low, have a little look at this, and then we'll come back up top for pros and cons. See you in a sec. Okay guys, here we are down low with the BoomStick Reaper. Here she is in all her glory. This is not the drip tip that comes with, this is a random one I've found. It comes with an Ultim drip tip and 510 pin and all that spare O-rings and stuff, and screws and all that, but yeah, not a big fan of Ultim drip tips, so I've popped a stainless steel one on. Obviously I have it in squonk mode, but it does come with a normal 510 pin as well. And here it is. So it is, as I've just said, a normal 510 drip tip hole. These holes here apparently help with the heat dissipation. I don't know. They're more aesthetic than anything, I believe. But there we go. We have, if we pop it off. Okay, so we have adjustable airflow on here. You can spin this barrel round, and you've got dual coil options that obviously you can reduce, and you've got a single coil option as well. So this should be just one hole now, so you can use it with just the air coming in from one side. There's actually 3 configurations you can coil this, so yeah, we'll come back to that. But that's the barrel. Don't forget, this is an 18mm wide RDA, so very, very narrow indeed. So yeah, very small chamber really when you think about it. So this is the deck. Quite old school. What you've got going on is 2 big screws to trap down your leads underneath them. You've got your squonk hole in the middle, and then you've got a juice well on either side. Now, okay, so coiling this puppy, right. When you first look at it, you think, oh yeah, I get it. You just go coil here, like this, right down the middle. But no sir, you cannot do that, because although that would be perfect, sadly that would mean the airflow passing through the screw in a very turbulent and messy vape. So that is not how you do it. You can do dual coil. Oh, hang on, got the shakes, too much coffee. You can do it dual coil, so one there and one there. Problem with that is, and I have used it in dual coil, these are very small wells. They're perfectly acceptable wells for one strand of cotton, but when you have to put the cotton from both sides of the coil in, it's very, very tight in here. Very, very small for dual coil. The whole RDA is very small for dual coil, to be honest. And coiling it dual coil is really tough, really tough. We'll get back to that. So you don't put it like that. Dual coil is murderous to put in, and not much room for cotton. What you have to do is either put it on one side like this and close off the airflow on one side. So you can put it on like that, or you have to do it almost slightly narderish. And we need to put it somewhere like that. Somewhere like that with slightly bent cotton, and then the airflow will pass in here and in here. So let's just try and get a coil in here. Okay, so I've popped a coil in here. I've put it quite high. I'm going to test it with this high coil. I actually reversed the leads last time. I did it low, but let's try it high. Can't be any worse, can it? I'm just gonna warm it up a bit. Okay, so got our coil in place now. Not the neatest, but what can you do? And as you can see, we've got it going on a slight diagonal here, so the airflow will be right here, going over here, and on the other side as well. You'll notice it's an 18mm RDA, but it's quite a beefy coil, and I found, for whatever reason, it just sort of works better with a bit more power through it, this RDA. It's not a super low wattage RDA in my opinion. Flavour's just not there at low wattage, but we'll talk about all that up top. Let's just get it wicked up. Okay, so got it all wicked up now, as you can see. So what I've done is I've left this side free for the air to go in like that, and I've left this side free as well. So I've just sort of blobbed the wick into each side to keep that diagonal thing, allow that air to go through it. So that is the plan. I know it's not the tidiest coil ever, but it's quite a fiddly deck really. Not because it's narrow, not because it's small, just because it's these old style screws, and these screws want the lead to go in like that, but obviously you need the lead to go in like that, so it makes for quite a fiddly deck, but not because of its size, just because of the screw situation. Okay, so let's stick the barrel back on. What we've got is we want dual coil wide open, so what we're doing is we're placing it there, and it should go straight through to the coil there in a way. So there it is on top of the clicker. Let's go back up top and vape on this and talk about its pros and cons. See you in a sec. Okay guys, that was the BoomStick Reaper down low. As you can see, quite a tough build deck. Quite a tough build deck really. They've gone with this old school clamping your leads under two screws situation. Now that is best suited to straight leads and straight coils and all that sort of thing, single coils and round wire builds and things like that. The fact that the ideal build for this is a single coil on a diagonal actually makes it quite fiddly, that deck. There's three configurations, as I've said before. You can do it as a single coil on one side, but I don't like that because it makes half of the RDA redundant. You can do a dual coil. Now I'm not a big fan of the dual coil on here as well. It's very tough build, and once you've built it, there's hardly any room in the two channels for the cotton. The build I recommend and the build I prefer the best is a diagonal single coil, and I think that's the main build that they recommend. It's an 18mm RDA. It's not really necessary to dual coil an 18mm RDA, certainly not a mouth to lung RDA. So I think the diagonal build is the way to go, and with the diagonal build, it's not too tricky. You just put it on a slight diagonal, you bend your leads a little bit, and then you just wick down half of each of the juice wells, of which there is plenty of room for. So I've got in diagonal mode, in fully wide open dual coil airflow, and it's vaping like this with a 0.5 coil. Not a bad vape at all, but like I say, not a fan of it in single coil one side configuration or dual coil. There just isn't enough room for the cotton in these tiny juice wells, and you're basically squonking it for every vape you take in dual coil mode. It's crazy. So this is the recommended build, and this is where I'm getting best results. Now, it is on paper a mouth to lung RDA. You can go down to one hole and you can just open it up a tiny fraction like this. This is a dual barrel situation, by the way. You've got two barrels there, and that's how that works. So if we go tiny hole on one side, try again. Right, so it's closed on one side now, and it's just open a tiny amount on that one side, and this is it in mouth to lung mode. So you very much can. This build isn't really recommended for mouth to lung. You want to go up perhaps to a 1 ohm on a mech, but you can mouth to lung it. Like that, it does mouth to lung, but because it does both, I feel like it is very compromised. I feel like it's a very compromised mouth to lung. It genuinely, if I was doing this mouth to lung, I'd have provided a lot of little air holes, circular air holes to choose from, and you spin it to pick which tiny little hole is best for your mouth to lung. And I would have also brought in this chamber really far down, maybe down to about here, so it was very low profile, very flavoursome mouth to lung. Again, not a massive fan of this in mouth to lung mode, but it does genuinely mouth to lung. You can restrict the airflow enough to get a mouth to lung from it, but I'm not really enjoying it that much in mouth to lung mode. I've put a big stainless steel coil in here, used it in TC on the iStick squeeze, this Pico squeeze, sorry, and yeah, it was okay, but I don't know, I think they're better mouth to lung RDAs out there, so I like it like this. This is definitely how I recommend using it. Restricted wide open airflow, 0.5 coil on a mech. Here we go. Nice steady draw, sort of medium small size cloud, and that is where I'm getting the flavour and the results. You know, that 20 to 35 watt sort of area. It is a very small RDA, 18mm, does come with that beauty ring, available in 3 different colours as well. I think it's very well made, I think it's very well machined, very well put together. I think it's reasonably nice looking. I quite like the swirls on the cap, so it's quite nice looking. For me, its issue is the deck. You know, I think they should have gone with one way of doing this, a best way of doing this, and to be honest, the best way is this diagonal way. And so if they were going to do this diagonal way, I would have done it with slanted post holes, so that you put your lead through the post holes that are on a slant, so you don't have to twist your wire, your lead at all. And I would have done it that way, so it fit in a diagonal perfectly without any compromising of your coil, and I think it would have worked best like that. I would have also left a channel for the air. Rather than forcing you to fiddle it out with your wicking, I would have actually forced an air channel into this RDA as well. So for me, it's not perfect, but that being said, putting the build in like this, doing the build like this sort of power bracket with a nice tasty fruity juice, it's doing all right. So if you're that 20 to 40 watt vapor and you like a nice restricted lung hit vape, you know, medium low wattage on a squonker, then check this out. That's the sort of bracket it's in. I don't think it's perfect. I think I could have done something a bit more innovative with that deck, and I would have really focused on one way to vape this and vape it well, rather than all these compromises, you know. But that being said, a pretty solid vape in this format. Not bad looking, squonks very well. It fills the juice channels up and wicks your cotton very, very fast when you squonk it. Flavour's not bad like this. Vapes pretty well. It's very well made. Flavour's pretty good like this. It's okay. It's okay. It's sort of half a thumb up for me. And it totally depends how you vape. If you're that 20 to 40 watt vaper, you want a nice small RDA for your squonker, then maybe check this out. Maybe. BoomStick, I've done some amazing things in the past. There's some very, very nice things in the past. So not taking anything away from them. Overall, I think it's pretty solid, but not amazing. Not amazing. I'm not blown away by this. I think it could have been a bit better. I'd like to see a V2 of this. But there we go. That is the BoomStick Reaper from heavensgifts and BoomStick Engineering. I've been Vick, and I'll see you again soon.